restricted or canceled prior to indictments being handed down?
I believe the answer to the second one is yes. I'd have to double check. Jeff Sessions is a good man. I felt he was a good senator, but he should not be Attorney General. It's just obvious, I think, to everyone. He's not in charge. Rod Rosenstein is running the place. Rod Rosenstein has been running the place. Jeff Sessions has not run the place in my judgment from day one. And I like him, but I think I think probably Mark and I were probably the first two to say, if you're not going to do what needs to be done, you should step down. We called for it almost a year ago. So it's not like it's, I feel bad for the guy because he's not in charge. We went over there, a group of us back a year ago, 13 months ago, to meet with him. And you could feel in the air that he was not in charge. It was almost like fear in the air. It was a weird sense you get when you got when you went there. So I don't think he's going to be in the job much longer. I think the president's going to make a change.
What about you?
No, not me.
Let's do one more.
You go Labrador.
Bob, you had a question.
When do you think we're going to see some retribution for all these crimes that have been committed and a restoration for the rule of law?
Yeah.
And not just that, but an elimination of the double standard.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons I take this oversight responsibility so seriously, because this gets to the basics. Everything, all these policies I talked about, what's been accomplished are important, but if you lose the basics, and look, I tell Raul and I were talking about this earlier, I'm willing to work with anybody to protect our fundamental liberties. We got a bill that we're working on, Raul and I are working on with one of the most liberal members of Congress, Jamie Raskin, former professor he's from Maryland. And this bill would protect the press's right to not have to divulge their confidential sources when the FBI or the DOJ comes to them and says, trying to compel them to give them, tell them who their sources are. And look, the press doesn't treat me well. Jeepers, they say all kinds of terrible things about me. In fact, we have sort of a rule in the Freedom Caucus. If the press isn't saying something bad about you, you're not doing anything any good, right? So it's not like we like the press, but we like the freedom that you're supposed to have in a free press and what that role that they play. Our founders understood that. So that's what we got to stay focused on as well. And I think the more you highlight the wrongdoing that took place, the better our chances are of getting back to this fundamental standard in this country that it's equal treatment under the law. And so we just got to, maybe Russ, I don't know for sure what committees he's interested in. We'd love you on oversight or judiciary where Raul and Mark and I are all on it. I told him earlier, those are the fun committees.
Let's just say potentially what our next step is. And there's a few people that I saw come in that I just want to acknowledge really quick. And by the way, what I didn't get a chance to say is Congressman Jordan was in the Ohio legislature elected in '94 for '06, correct? So both House and Senate, it's been a tour to both, and then to Congress. And that's conservative, he's exhibited conservative leadership the entire time. And so that's one of the reasons it's so encouraging to me to be able to potentially join those ranks. And that's happening right here, right now, within our own state. And there's a few of those people that's leading that charge here. Senator Cliff Bayer's here. Senator Lori Representative Judy Boyle. And I saw you might get the record for the longest trip to get here, because you think he's been traveling from former Senator Rod Beck is here, and future Senator Tammy Nichols, and our future county commissioner, Ricky Purdy, and
how about the future Speaker of the House?
I think I know pretty much everybody here. And unless I've got something wrong, there's not somebody in the room who hasn't put out a piece of lit, stuck up a sign, passed out a t-shirt, those types of things, which is the ground game, or held an event at their home or something like that. And Congressman George, I was just, in getting to know him a little bit, I was just trying to say, okay, what is it about this guy that makes him tick? Well, it doesn't hurt to be a two-time NCAA Division I runner. And it doesn't hurt to have Polly in your corner. So those are great things and attributes. A quick acknowledgement here, because I've got some full-time staff that has been working so hard, and we're trying to push through that last 12 days? 12 days. And Clinton Daniels here from Houston, Emily Larson, Dan Tellez, Megan Fulcher, is that the full-time folks? Oh, Steve, of course, Steve Ackerman, who's the brains of the whole outfit. And so I'm going to wrap things up. We're going to be here for a few more minutes. But folks, we have a unique window of time here. We have a president who's open to some new ideas. And we've got people like Congressman Lavador, Congressman Jordan, and potentially a new class, hopefully, where we're going to maintain the majority of the House. And by the way, that's really important, because if we don't hold that majority in the U.S. House, then Congressman Jordan doesn't get a chance to run for Speaker. And he nailed it. This is going to be, everything will be derailed, and people will start charging towards impeachment, which does nobody any good. So with that, I wanted to say one other thing, because there's a camera rolling here. I want to make sure and mention liberty-minded patriot, because my understanding is those are the trigger words that gets the ear of the NSA. And anytime, I used to think that was a bad thing. Then I think, well, wait a minute. I might have been Raul who told me, wait, that's the only part of government that's actually listening. So, to you all, liberty-minded patriots, 12 days. Let's get this done. Thank you very much.
Yeah.